Hello, everyone. Welcome to Celsius 233, your go-to place for fiction book summaries. Today we will embark on a journey through The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, published in 1950, is the first book written in the Chronicles of Narnia series and the second in chronological order. Set during World War II, it follows four siblings who discover the magical land of Narnia within a wardrobe. They join Aslan, a noble lion, in a battle against the White Witch, who has cursed Narnia with eternal winter. Plot summary. Once there were four children, Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy, who were sent away from London during the war to stay with an old professor in a sprawling countryside house. It was a strange, grand house, full of secrets and long corridors, perfect for exploration. One rainy day, the youngest, Lucy, stumbled upon a peculiar wardrobe in a spare room. Opening its door, she found not just rows of fur coats but an entire snow-covered forest inside. Stepping through, she entered a magical land called Narnia. In this enchanted land, Lucy encountered a faun named Mr. Tumnus, who nervously invited her to tea. Over their conversation, he admitted that Narnia was under the cruel rule of the White Witch, who had cast a spell that made it always winter and never Christmas. Tumnus explained that the witch had ordered all Narnians to capture any human they encountered. Feeling ashamed, he decided to help Lucy escape back to the wardrobe rather than turn her in. When Lucy returned, she found that no time had passed in her world, and her siblings dismissed her tale as a game of make-believe. But things took a darker turn when Edmund, the next youngest, also stumbled into Narnia during a game of hide-and-seek. He met the White Witch herself, who was as imposing as she was beguiling. She tempted Edmund with enchanted Turkish delight, a delicacy so addictive that it clouded his judgment. The witch promised him more if he brought his siblings to her, filling his mind with visions of power and grandeur. Lucy, delighted to see Edmund in Narnia, took him to meet Tumnus. But Edmund, feeling both guilty and spiteful, denied the existence of Narnia to the others upon their return. Lucy's joy turned to despair as her siblings continued to think her story a fabrication. Fate intervened when all four children eventually stepped through the wardrobe together while hiding from the housekeeper. They found themselves in Narnia, where the snow-covered trees stood still and quiet. Lucy led them to Tumnus's home, but they discovered it ransacked, with a notice declaring him a traitor for aiding humans. Determined to help, they set off to find someone who could guide them. The siblings soon encountered a beaver, who brought them to his dam and introduced them to his wife. The beavers explained the true gravity of their presence in Narnia. According to prophecy, 2 sons of Adam and 2 daughters of Eve would end the witch's reign and restore peace to the land. The beavers also spoke of Aslan, the great lion and rightful king, who had returned to Narnia after a long absence. He was preparing to meet them at the stone table. But Edmund, drawn by the witch's promises, slipped away from the beaver's home. He trudged through the snow to her castle, where he was met not with warmth but with cold cruelty. The witch, now aware of the prophecy, was furious to learn that Edmund had come alone. Instead of the promised rewards, she took him prisoner and set out to capture the others. The remaining siblings, realizing Edmund's betrayal, hurried with the beavers toward the stone table, hoping to warn Aslan. Along the way, the witch's magic began to falter. The snow started melting, revealing green fields and blooming flowers. Father Christmas appeared, a sign that her power was weakening, and he gifted the children with tools for the battles ahead. Finally, the children reached the stone table and met Aslan. The lion's presence was both awe-inspiring and comforting. He promised to protect them and began rallying an army to challenge the witch. Meanwhile, the witch prepared for war, her grip on Edmund tightening. Aslan orchestrated Edmund's rescue, and though the boy was deeply ashamed, Aslan forgave him and welcomed him back to his family. The siblings were overjoyed, but their relief was short-lived. The witch demanded her right to Edmund's life, citing the deep magic that decreed all traitors belonged to her. She claimed he was hers to kill. Aslan negotiated with the witch, striking a mysterious bargain that spared Edmund. That night, however, he left the camp in solemn silence. Lucy and Susan, who secretly followed him, witnessed the terrible price of the bargain. Aslan surrendered himself to the witch in Edmund's place. At the stone table, the witch's minions humiliated, bound, and killed the great lion. Heartbroken, Lucy and Susan stayed with Aslan's body until morning. At dawn, a miracle occurred. The stone table cracked, and Aslan returned to life, explaining that a deeper magic existed before the witch's laws. Because he had sacrificed himself for an innocent, death itself was reversed. With renewed strength, Aslan led the sisters to the witch's castle, where he freed the creatures she had turned to stone. Together, they stormed the battlefield where Peter and Edmund were leading the Narnians against the witch's forces. Edmund, in a moment of bravery, destroyed the witch's wand, rendering her powerless. Aslan arrived and defeated her, ending her reign of terror. The children were crowned kings and queens at Cair Paravel, ruling Narnia for many years in a time of peace and prosperity. They became known as the Golden Age rulers, wise and just. One day, while hunting the legendary white stag, they stumbled upon the wardrobe again, though they had long forgotten its existence. Passing through, they found themselves back in the spare room, children once more, as though no time had passed at all. The professor welcomed them back without surprise, hinting that their adventures might not be over. And so, the children's hearts remained full of wonder, knowing that Narnia was waiting for them, just beyond the wardrobe door. If this book pulled you in, don't stop here. Explore the rest of Chronicles of Narnia series by C.S. Lewis. Check the description or search Celsius 233. Remember, while our summaries capture the essence, they can never replace the full experience of reading the book. If this summary intrigued you, consider diving into the complete story, buy the book, and immerse yourself in C.S. Lewis's original work. Bye-bye, take care, have fun.